Assalamu alaikum. I'm Abdul Salam, Assistant Professor in Accounting, Department of Business Administration, Asian University of Bangladesh. Now, I will discuss break-even analysis. First of all, we know that we want to know that what is the break-even analysis? It is the tools and techniques of a decision making by a manager, by a higher authority, or chief of the organizations. They are always find out that how to minimize the cost and maximize the production, as well as minimize the cost and maximize the wealth. In this context, a break-even is a very suitable tools for a decision making by a manager or an executive of an organization. First of all, we discuss what is the break-even analysis. Break-even analysis is a second key relationship in cost, volume, profit analysis, where the level of activity at which the total revenue equal total cost, both fixed and variable. This level of activity is called the break-even level. The point of the sales volume in units or in money value at which the total cost is equal to the total revenue is identified under the cost volume profit analysis, the break-even point as the break-even point. It is also known as no profit no loss point because at this point the organization's revenues and expenses are equal. That is, the organization has no profit, no loss. It is called breaks even. From the definition, we are easily find out in a break-even analysis. Here are the four key points. Number one is total revenue. Number two, total cost. And number three is how much unit we produce, or or how much money we earn from this point. The 4 point we are find out from this analysis. So obviously when we are prepared the or when we are calculate the break-even point, we have some sort of assumption. What are the assumptions for need a calculation of a break-even? These are given below. Number one, the behavior of the cost and revenue has been reliably determined and is linear over the relevant range. This is so much interesting factors or assumptions for calculate the break-even point. When we calculate the break-even point, obviously we need some sort of a specific time period or range of time. In this relevant range or in this relevant time, obviously we are use the same behavior of a cost and same behavior of a revenue. And then number two, assumption number two is all costs are divided into two. One is fixed cost, another one is variable cost. We know that we, when we are going to do anything else in the world, here creates some sort of costs. All the cost is not a working cost or instant cost. Some sort of cost that arises for the long term or long run, that is called a fixed cost. And when we are where are incurred the per unit or on the basis of unit of output, then that is called a variable cost. So easily we are divided the total cost is two part. One is the fixed cost and the other one is the variable cost. Now assumption number three. Fixed cost will remain constant over the relevant volume range of the break-even analysis. Same same time when we are analyzing the break-even point, then obviously we did not use the different types of different point of fixed cost or different type of sales volume, because we if we want to take the decision, obviously we fixed up a specific time period or a specific number of unit production or a specific number of service provided to the customers. If it is not a relevant range, then obviously we did not find out the proper result from this analysis. So that's why we are always think that fixed cost will remain constant over the relevant volume range of the break-even analysis. Number four, variable costs are proportional to the volume. It's very clear that if we produce one more unit, we need to be a proportional cost increase for the range of output. যদি আমরা এক ইউনিট বেশি উৎপাদন করি, তাহলে এক ইউনিটের যে খরচটা সেই ইউনিট খরচটা আমাদের টোটাল কস্টের সাথে কি হয়ে যাবে, যোগ হয়ে যাবে। সো বলছে যে ফিক্সড কস্ট রিমেইন কনস্ট্যান্ট, দ্যাট মিনস হচ্ছে ফিক্সড কস্টে কোনো পরিবর্তন হবে না, কিন্তু যদি সেটা ভেরিয়েবল কস্টে আমাদের কি হয়, অ্যারাইজ হয়, এবং যদি সেখানে আমাদের ইউনিট অফ প্রোডাকশন ইনক্রিজ করে, তাহলে অবশ্যই আমাদের কি হবে, টোটাল খরচও বেড়ে যাবে। And the number five, selling price are to be unchanged over the period of the break-even analysis. We said that the most of the things are the remain unchanged. Also, we sales price per unit also be unchanged. যদি সেলস প্রাইসটা কি হয়, আজকে একরকম, কালকে একরকম, পরশু আর একরকম হয়, তাহলে আমাদের ডিসিশনগুলি কি হবে না, we didn't make a perfect decision for a production or sales for a perfect unit or perfect number of unit of product. So that's why selling price have to be unchanged. Number 8, prices of the cost factors are to be unchanged. Here we are saying that a cost are two types, one is the fixed cost, another one is the variable cost. Factors, cost factors. That means it's raw material, labor, cost center, fixed overhead, manufacturing overhead, variable overhead remain unchanged. Number G, the efficiency and productivity are to be unchanged. Over the time period, all the things are remain, most of the things are remain unchanged without the variable, total variable cost. Because if productivity or efficiency increase or decrease, then impact on the analysis. So it is remain unchanged. So above are the most important factors of break-even analysis. So why we are use the break-even? What is the importance of the break-even analysis? Obviously, it is important for us. Uh, obviously, it is important for us. Why we are use the break-even? So break-even analysis may be used by the management, accounts, and executives as a tools in the decision-making process. It may be give some guidelines for taking the opportunity, taking the optimum decisions. Some of the uses of the break-even analysis are given below. A sales manager can have the idea about the sales volume. A cost manager find out the what is the total cost and what is the fixed cost and what is the variable cost. And a production manager find out the capacity of the production. A production manager also determine what is the sales price of this product. A management can know the effect of the change in the selling price, volumes of sales and cost of the production and profitability. A top management are easily determine how much amount of the product produced in this year and what is the need in the market and what is the capacity of their institution. So this is most important tools and techniques for decision making. Also determine the suitability of the alternative machineries. Also, it may help the management in following situations: determine the optimum sales volume, suggestion for the shift in the sales mix, suggestion for the sales price, set the selling price, acceptance of the special order, and change in the fixed cost, and finally, uh, management team are find out the customers' demands and needs. So it is the most important tools and techniques for a business educationist, manager, owner, CEO, MD, etc. of an organization. How to compute the break-even point? There are the three methods of the calculation for the break-even point. One is the mathematical equation, another one is the contribution margin system, another one is the derived from a cost volume profit by the graph or break-even chart. So easily we can say that if we compute the break-even point, we using the three types of methods. One is the equation method, another one is the contribution margin method, another one is the graphical representation. So first of all, we are calculate the break-even point by the mathematical approach. In a mathematical approach, first of all, we are find out the profit, how much profit we earn from the sales, productions, or any other activities of the organizations. So here we see that a mathematical expression is sales revenue is minus sales variable expenses minus fixed cost is equal profit. Taking the above equation a little bit further, it can be restated as follows. That means how to calculate the sales revenue. If we want to know the sales revenue, then we will need to be a how much amount of unit we sold in a market and what is the per unit sales price. So easily we are calculate the sales revenue where the unit sales price into number of unit we are multiplied. And then variable expenses also. So how much amount of the variable cost per unit of the product or how much product we have produced in the time period. If we multiply the number of product and we multiply by the cost per unit, variable cost per unit, so that we can get easily what is the sales volume or what is the sales revenue and then what is the variable expenses. Also, we calculate the fixed expenses. If fixed expenses given the questions, then it is very much easy for us. But if it is not showed in here, then obviously we are use the tools and techniques for calculate the fixed expenses. As for example, given that the sales revenue is taka 100 and then variable cost is taka 70,000 and the profit is taka 10,000, what is the fixed cost? Obviously we can easily find out the what is the fixed cost. 1 lakh fixed cost is equal sales revenue minus variable cost minus profit. Then we can get easily what is the fixed expenses. So this is the mathematical expressions for calculating the break-even point. Then approach number 2, contribution margin approach. As mentioned in the previous lesson, contribution margin equals to the differences between total revenues and the total variable cost of the sales. We know that. What is the contribution margin? Contribution margin means which amount we get from the sales and the unit variable cost. Total variable cost, যে টোটাল সেলস রেভিনিউ থেকে যখন আমরা টোটাল ভেরিয়েবল কস্ট বাদ দিয়ে দিব তখন যেটা আমরা পাবো সেটা নাম হচ্ছে যে কি contribution margin. Contribution margin, that means it is the which profit we are distribute for the several type of functional activities, like as operation, we meet the operation cost, we meet the manufacturing overhead, we meet the administrative overhead, we meet the selling and distribution overhead. That is called a contribution margin. From the contribution margin, if we deduct manufacturing overhead, administrative overhead, selling and distribution overhead, or development overhead, then that is finally we get the net profit. So contribution margin approach is the another systems of the break-even analysis. If we are find out the break-even point by using either the contribution margin per unit or the contribution margin ratio or MI ratio or PV ratio. When the contribution margin per unit is used, the general formula for the computing the break-even, also volume in the units are given below. Yeah, break-even point in units. We are said that at the beginning, when we are calculate the break-even analysis or we are analyzing the break-even point, then we got the two types of the break-even point or break-even analysis. One is the unit, another one is the money terms or taka. So when we are calculate the break-even point in units, then the rules is fixed cost divided by unit contribution per unit. So after that we get the break-even point in units, and then another rules is break-even point in sales in time. This is the more similar but a basic differences between units, break-even units and break-even sales in taka. In a break-even point in units, we are use the fixed cost and contribution margin per unit. But here, when we calculate the break-even point in sales in taka, then obviously we use the contribution margin ratio. Contribution margin ratio. What do you mean by the contribution margin ratio? Contribution margin ratio means unit contribution margin divided by unit sales price. So it is called a contribution margin ratio. So if we want to calculate the break-even point in sales in taka, then obviously we use the fixed cost divided by contribution margin. A contribution margin ratio. A contribution margin ratio is equal contribution margin per unit divided by selling price per unit. So we can get easily a break-even point in sales in taka. Then the approach number 3 or method number 3 for calculating the break-even point by the graphical presentation. So today I want to finish it here, and next day obviously I will discuss the cost, volume, profit analysis by the graphical presentation, because if we are find out the break-even point by the graphical presentation, we need to be another 30 minutes also. So that's why goodbye, Allah Hafiz, best of luck, see you again in the next class. Till then, Allah Hafiz.